Hello, we are live. Good afternoon. Happy Monday to everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. Glad you guys are here. Always glad you guys are here. As you guys know, my name is Gershom Folcott. We are VB Technologies. Right next to me is our Vice Chairman, Mr. Jingao.
I'm sorry. I'm on Facebook. Let me mute that.
Hey, Mr. Jingao, what's going on, buddy? How was your weekend, by the way?
Good afternoon. Oh, man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Monday's always been busy. Oh, yes, I had a great weekend, but a very busy weekend, actually.
Yeah.
People have been calling, and we've been off the hook.
Yeah, it was a really busy weekend, for sure. Yeah.
Right. And Monday, and of course, Monday is always busy for us, which is always a good thing. So I'm good.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
All right, and as always, Mr. Wong, our co-founder. Mr. Wong, what's going on with you today, sir?
Hey, doing great. Actually, I am calling in on my mobile phone. I'm in my car. Just came back from a diamond sale appointment, so I have with me the check and the commitment. So
very nice. You see, guys, even our co-founder is in the field. Bringing this information to people. That's how important what we do is. So that's awesome. I love to see that. Hey, James, what's going on, buddy? How are things out there in California, bud?
It's kind of post-apocalyptic, Gershom. The weather. I mean, the air quality. You guys have been hearing about this, right? Like a million plus acres on fire. The air quality is horrible. It's all gray, and I even went up to the farm, and it was gray up there. It's gray everywhere. You can smell it everywhere, really. Even though I'm miles and miles away, I can totally smell the ash in the air and stuff. It's just crazy, man. 2020, man.
Wow, it almost seems like lately every year you guys have some really serious fire situation out there in California. And also not only that, but it seems like it's getting worse every year. The fires are getting bigger. They're getting more intense. So that's interesting out there. Wow. Hope everything is, it works out okay. Have there been any lives taken from the fire so far?
Yeah, there have been 7 so far, and I think they've been arresting some people for looting, how humans are. But guess what the high temperature was yesterday, at least where I am.
I'm going to say 110.
Oh, my God. You nailed it. That's exactly it. Yep.
Really? I didn't know. That was just a straight up guess.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, that is a lot. I mean, that's hot. I used to live in Texas. I lived in Houston before.
You're by the Bay Area, right?
105 was crazy. I can't imagine.
Yeah, Bay Area. Yep,
that's insane.
Bay Area. Yeah. So hot for the Bay.
Wow. All these people texting me.
Yeah.
Saying, where are we at? We're right here.
Right here. Mm-hmm. Well, listen. Let's jump right into a topic. First of all, there was great weekend, busy weekend. We're expanding rapidly in a lot of different countries now, and we were before. Mm-hmm. We're picking up new countries. The Australian team, they're really exploding there in Australia.
Right.
New Zealand, they're exploding in New Zealand also. So it was a great busy weekend for us with all these different countries coming on board. And the thing that I like, what I'm seeing with these different countries, is that they're super excited. Mm-hmm. They're aggressive when it comes to Bitcoin. They understand what Bitcoin is. They understand the future of Bitcoin, what it can do for them.
Right.
So that's very refreshing for me to see, people in this other country, how appreciative they are and how aggressive they are and how excited they are when it comes to Bitcoin.
Right. And I think other countries are more receptive with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Because actually a lot of members in New Zealand and Australia, they're already using Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Some of them actually using their Bitcoin to pay for our mining packages.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So not as much here in the US, right? So I mean, we already know the figures, the numbers, right? In the US, roughly we only have about 2% actually. A couple all these articles we read, it's only really about 2% of the population in the US has Bitcoin. Right, I think the whole world population is probably about 4 or 5%. Mm-hmm. Right, so the U.S. we still have a way to go, but we are growing rapidly. Our company has been growing crazy. Not only Australia, we're doing great. New Zealand, awesome. But U.S. also we can't forget about U.S. We've been growing like
Yeah.
crazy in the past couple of weeks.
Yes.
So a lot of room to grow. I'm very excited.
Hi, Mr. Wong. What's your take in terms of how do you feel about the excitement coming out of places like Australia and New Zealand for the company and also for the product? How are you processing all of this?
Gershom, I was on a couple of those. I was on a couple of those conference call, Zoom meeting call with the Australians and New Zealand team, and the level of knowledge that they have when it comes to just minings and where Bitcoin comes about and cryptocurrencies in general, it really impresses me. And that goes to show, like, we actually have a tremendous amount of opportunities here in the U.S. because we are so untapped, right? I mean, you look at foreign countries like in Asia and in Australia and New Zealand, those people are so much more knowledgeable. Actually, a lot of people already have knowledge and already, like Jin was saying, using Bitcoin to transact. So really, it really gets me even more excited about our business model and to try to spread the word to the rest of the North America population. So it's awesome. It's awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, and James, our Facebook looks kind of blurry. Can you see if you can make it a little more clear?
It should be clear. I think it might be.
Yeah,
I think your connection's a little choppy actually in the office. We're uploading. Our bit rate's 9,000 right now. But I see you guys lagging on the webcam, so I think it might be the Wi-Fi signal or something over on the office.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
So why don't we go ahead and jump in our first topic? And this first topic, it really pretty much picked up on one of our discussions last week. So Microstrategies, right? Remember they invested $250 million in Bitcoin.
Right.
But more importantly than that, what they have done is set a precedent for other corporations right now who are heavily infused with cash, because a lot of corporations have a lot of cash on their balance sheet, right? Because a lot of them, they're in the markets, right? But they do have a lot of cash on their books on the sideline. And they're wondering, what should we do with this cash? Because the longer you hold this cash, and the more the Fed keep printing, the cash that they're holding in the balance sheet keep losing its value. So what the CEO of Microstrategy did is say, hey, look, rather than us holding all this cash in our balance sheet, why don't we take a portion of it and put it in Bitcoin, because holding it in cash doesn't work. We lose in value. And so right now what's happening, a lot of other corporations saw that, and now they're following suit, right? And they're getting involved. But here's the thing about MicroStrategy, what most people don't realize, they're owned by BlackRock and Fidelity. I didn't know that, right? And so BlackRock, Fidelity alone have almost $7 trillion in asset.
A little more than I have. Okay.
And BlackRock is the largest hedge fund in the world. So what that's telling me, for MicroStrategy to go out and spend $250 million buying Bitcoin, that means that they must have had the blessings of BlackRock and Fidelity, which means that those clients that's been serviced by BlackRock and Fidelity is going to now have exposure to Bitcoin, and they have a lot of money.
Right.
So that tells me that Bitcoin is going to go to the moon.
Yep. Well, for BlackRock, actually, BlackRock is a kind of like a hedge fund manager. They're private money hedge fund managers. And also at Fidelity, they already started their crypto custody, their crypto holding fund to it, their arm to it. So these two, Fidelity has already been welcoming. They already opened their arms up for crypto and Bitcoin. All right. And of course, BlackRock, these people are more of the hedge fund type, so they're a little more what you call it, on the forefront.
Yes.
Okay. So yes. So I could see that. And now, And what is this MicroStrategy did? What, they bought over 21,000 Bitcoin.
That's a lot of Bitcoin.
Right. Which means with $250 million, $250 million in value, right? $250 million Bitcoin. So yes, so we get into institutionals, not only like Fidelity having a custody, like I'm holding your Bitcoin, okay? Yeah. And another great thing, yes, the bank now is allowed to be a custodian of holding Bitcoin.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it's huge. Right. So, but they're not just holding it. They were actually, they have another investment arm that going into it, buying into Bitcoin. All right. No longer just holding it for people like us or investors. They're really into it. So it seems like to me, they're pretty much all in.
Yeah,
into Bitcoin.
And another thing to that point, I'm gonna get to jump in here in a second, Mr. Wong, but I just want to share this real quick. So MicroStrategy, they have, so before they made this move, right, they had $500 million in cash on their balance sheet. And to show you how much confidence they have in Bitcoin and how comfortable they feel with Bitcoin, they took half of that and purchased Bitcoin. Right, half of the cash that they have on the balance, they took it by Bitcoin. So that to me shows that they had a lot of confidence going into Bitcoin and making this move right here. Right. So, what are your thoughts on the whole thing, Mr. Wong?
Couple of points, Gershom. Couple of points. All of these are very, very positive stuff that are happening within our industry and as a industry as a whole for cryptocurrency, but a couple of very important points I don't want our audience to miss. You talked about that last week during our webinar on Friday, is that what is there to say that, even though Warren Buffett himself, right, doesn't believe in, Bitcoins, what is there to stop one of his subsidiary manager, which runs autonomously, right, from getting into crypto or Bitcoins? There's nothing can stop that, right?
Yes.
So, and I can totally see that happening, right? And with the move from like MicroStrategy, which is owned by Fidelity and BlackRock, so I can totally see that happening with one of the many subsidiaries that Warren Buffett owns under Berkshire Hathaway, umbrella, right? That's point number one. Number two, I talked about that last week, that you heard that these banks are going to, to the feds and to the government and complain about, hey, we need to get into this. So the best way for us to get into it and jumpstart is to be able to, allow us to hold custodies of these Bitcoins for our clients, right? That's only one half of the strategy. They're holding, custody of Bitcoins on behalf of other people, which allows them to kind of like be able to write options and for the market now, the futures now, right? But the other strategy is actually they have to actually own some of that too, Bitcoins, just in case if somebody decided to actually settle in Bitcoins. Right now, think about this. You have MicroStrategies, it's just one of the companies that we heard and made service on it. Many banks can be doing this, behind the scene that we just never heard about. Buying up to $250 million worth of Bitcoins. I think it works out to be like 21,000 somewhat of a number of Bitcoins, right? If banks start moving in there and start buying Bitcoins with their own money and holding on to it, now they can really go out there and write these options and futures and start, pushing out these, exotic derivatives to their client base. And I see these little bit of last pieces of puzzles that are being put together. So I think all of these are great developments for our industry and for Bitcoins as particularly.
Absolutely. And also just to add to that, there are a lot of those banks and financial institutions that are more than likely buying Bitcoin right now, but it's not being publicized. And I think eventually the word will get out. I wouldn't be surprised if, 3-6 months from now, we find out that a lot of these other banks and institutions have been quietly acquiring Bitcoin to put on their balance sheet. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Right. But I just want one disclaimer, okay? All of us are talking, and we're all excited about Bitcoin, obviously. We're in the industry. But there's no way, shape, or form that we are financial advisors.
Yes.
We are not encouraging you guys to go out and buy Bitcoin or do Bitcoin mining. You got to do your own due diligence. All right. So just we're all excited about cryptocurrency, obviously, and that's what this live stream is about. Okay. Also, with Grayscale. Grayscale is another investment company where they buy up Bitcoins and then they allow you to buy into them, buy a share and really invest into Bitcoin. And they actually charge a premium. Right? So, for example, if they have $100 million in Bitcoin, right, they're valued at $110 million. Right? So there's always a premium that they charge. And why people are into Grayscale and companies like that, it just make it easier, in a way, make it easier for them, and then they just put the money there and don't have to worry about it. And some people that don't know how to get into Bitcoin, you have to get the wallet and where to buy it, and the KYC and all those other stuff, or you might lose the key and it's gone. So that's why these services like Grayscale and now even MicroStrategy. If they're going to start a fund, or anyone start a fund with that invest in Bitcoin, and that's kind of like the safe factor or the easy way for them to get into, right? But really, it's pretty easy too. Like that's what our company, that's what Weebit is doing. Weebit is getting rid of that middleman person, right? To hold your Bitcoin, you can hold your own Bitcoin. Yes. Easily,
yes.
With us, right? You can come mine in, and you have your Bitcoin wallet, and you can easily hold that Bitcoin, and that's what our company is doing. That's why I'm excited about where our company is going, right? And really bringing that mass into the crypto industry and into Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Mr. G. For a very long time, it was very difficult for the average person to get into Bitcoin mining. Without paying an arm and a leg, right? And also having, don't have that much control over the Bitcoin that you're mining and whatnot. And you're right about that. That's also the thing about our company is that we are able to just bring it to the average person on the street. It doesn't matter who you are. Anyone on the street right now can walk in our office, right? And get involved with us and become a Bitcoin miner. It doesn't take that much technical know-how because that's what we do. We have the technical know-how, but the fact of the matter is we allow the average person, doesn't matter who you are, any Joe Blow can be a Bitcoin miner because of how we have the company set up to where it's super, super easy, doesn't take any technical know-how. All you need to have is just the interest and the motivation to be a Bitcoin miner, and the rest is up to us to take care of for you. Mr. Wong, were you going to say something?
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay, good. But yeah, I mean, I think this is good. I like the fact that these big corporations are getting in. I like the fact that MicroStrategies is also owned by Fidelity. But I want to read to you guys what the CEO said, right, when he made this purchase. He said this: the investment reflects our belief that Bitcoin, as the world's most widely adopted cryptocurrency, is a dependable store of value and an attractive investment asset with more long-term appreciation potential than holding cash. So I think everyone is coming to the realization right now that holding cash is not going to do you any good long-term, because the government has come out and said that they are in the process of debasing the dollar. So once you know that, right, why would you want to hold on to something that is being debased? And it's not by accident, it is by design to debase the dollar. And so these big corporations are saying, hey, why are we holding on to this cash on the balance sheet? Yes, we need to have some cash, but we don't want to have too much cash because we're losing money if we do that. So my thought process is this: if these big corporations are doing that, if these big time billionaires are doing that, why won't the average person follow along, right? I mean, and if you're listening out there and your savings is in cash, then you really need to rethink, your situation, your strategy. Do you want to be holding on to something that the government is aggressively debasing to lose its value, right? You got to think about that for a second. All right. So our next topic, one of your favorite, Mr. Jingao. The Bitcoin hash rate right now is at an all-time high. And that tells me one thing. That tells me that there are more miners that's staying in the game than there are that's leaving the game. And the reason why all these miners are staying in is because they can't afford to get out of the Bitcoin mining game right now with Bitcoin on the move. So with more miners staying in, and at the same time, you have more miners coming on board, like our company's going so fast. Right. These are some of the things that's keeping the Bitcoin hash rate not only high, but at an all-time high. And to me, it's a positive thing because we need more people in the space. And even though what we do is Bitcoin mining and less competition is good for us, so to speak, but at the same time, it's just good to know that the industry sees the potential as to why they can't afford to take the machine offline, but more importantly, why more miners are getting online with us as well. What do you think about that?
Looks like I got my
Your
face.
computer is acting funny?
Is acting up. Yeah. Okay. Oh, looks is fine.
Okay.
Oh, no. But anyway, yes, I love it when there's actually, that's a good thing about Bitcoin mining. Two things. You know, if there are more people that are mining, it's good. Right? And we are experiencing exponential growth in the past month, right? July, we have one of the best months ever. And this month is better than July. So we're experiencing that. And the good thing is there's no, a lot of members ask me, why wouldn't it be, if you have all these people coming, is there a competition? Do you see competition for other miners? And what about, do you see if these big corporations come in and buy all the hash power, buy all the Bitcoin, right? Is it going to have, what kind of impact does it have on your business, on our operations or mining? I say, first, it doesn't actually. I think the more people that comes in, yes. Are we going to get less Bitcoin? Right. No, yeah, we are. Okay? Well, obviously, the more people that mine Bitcoin, yes, everybody gets a little less Bitcoin. But the value is going to be more. More people that are into Bitcoin. And of course, the more people that do it, you get less, which means it costs you a little more to mine Bitcoin. And that's the thing about the value for Bitcoin, right? Now, it actually, there is a real cost in mining Bitcoin. Right? There's cost and there is value in that Bitcoin. It's not just something that people that made up. Right? Now, I don't know if the Nakamoto Satoshi Nakamoto is he? I think he meant to design to make it very expensive to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right. Because obviously, the more money that you put into something, obviously there are more value in it, right? And then the more people that come, yes, it's going to be more expensive to mine Bitcoin. But why do people mine Bitcoin? Because the value has to be more than what you put in. What your expenses is, what you put in, you have to get back more, right? And if that is not the case, if Bitcoin is not enough to cover your expenses, then nobody's going to mine, right? Then the backbone and the mining is not going to work. Then there is no Bitcoin. So that's why, yes, we can have as many people, millions, or even everybody's mining. That's fine, right? That's the value of Bitcoin. The more people that come in to mine, the value of Bitcoin will go up. So I don't see, I don't mind competition. I love competition. I love more people to come mine. Right? Especially the people that have been mining already, the Bitcoin that we have already, right? The value of Bitcoin goes up, and it's even better.
Yeah, I think that only bring the more miners you have, also, I believe, it strengthen the network effect, right? It made the network effect a lot more stronger. And so, yes, you want to see more people involved in mining. So, Mr. Wong, the fact that the hash rate right now is at an all-time high, how are you processing that information?
I absolutely love it. Now, here's a couple of points that I have, right? I think the hash rate has been continuously going up. Is due to you have more and more institutional investors that are coming into the space, and they actually decided to go into investing in mining farms as opposed to just go and buy out straight, do a buy in the OTC market, over the counter market on these Bitcoins, because there's not enough Bitcoins in the marketplace for them to actually purchase with the amount of purchasing power they have. So you have a lot of these big farms that are going up. So that naturally drives the difficulty numbers up, right? And this is actually the beauty about Bitcoin network. It is the true definition of how we let the free market do its thing, right? What I mean by that is, as Jim was mentioning or talking about earlier, the more people that get in, the higher the difficulty it gets. Then, because not all of us are mining at the same cost, meaning that I might be paying 6 cents and Jim might be paying 8 cents and Gershon might be paying 9 cents. Now, Gershon might be the first one, as mining difficulty goes up, be the first one to turn off his machine because it's no longer covering his costs, right? Because what Jim was saying is, to become a miner, you have to be profitable. Otherwise, you're going to get out of the game because that doesn't make sense, right? And then if the price or difficulty continues to go up and Jin is not covering, his, mining electricity costs, then he's going to be the next one to turn off the machine. But I will stay on because I happen to have the lower electricity fees compared to both Gershon and Jin. So, and what happened when they both turn off the machine, the mining difficulty comes down. Mm-hmm. I also end up getting more Bitcoins at the same time. So this is how a free market, work is magic. So I absolutely love it. And if everybody stay on, the Bitcoin value would have to be worth more than what I put in. Otherwise, some people will turn off their machines. And that's how the system works.
Yeah, I mean, those are some very, really good points, excellent points, Mr. Wong, that you're making. And, one of the things that we talked about last week, maybe it was the week before last, is how Bitcoin is like a black hole, right? And it is sucking in all these investments. It's sucking in money from the equity market. It is sucking in money from, gold and precious metals and all that. But another thing that, this is kind of a side topic, that I realized that Bitcoin is also doing, not just Bitcoin, but the blockchain industry itself, it's also sucking all the talents from all the other places. So all the programmers right now, the engineers, the real smart guys out there, they're all leaving the traditional industry that they were in, and they're all coming to either work in the blockchain or to be a developer in the Bitcoin space. But that's another avenue to show you that this thing Bitcoin, it's really like a black hole. So not only is it sucking in all the money as far as asset investments, but it's also sucking in all the talent that's out there, all the smart engineers, all the smart programmers. They're all coming in this space because this is where the excitement is at. This is where things are happening. And that's one of the reasons why we see more people staying on board as far as miners, because the excitement is in this space, right? Mm-hmm. And who doesn't love excitement? So yeah, it's a great thing.
Right. And I think this year and next, it always happens when the halving happens, right? When the Bitcoin halving, which happened in May of this year. Usually that year and the year after, it's going to go crazy, all right? And I think you guys talked about it last time, how a lot of people thinking about the Bitcoin, there will be an unprecedented move in Bitcoin, or what's going to happen. It's because I think it's like what it did in the past. It's going to hit another all-time high next year. But another unprecedented move is because obviously of what's going on right now, all right? The COVID-19, this and all that situations, and other currencies. You were talking about other countries' currencies or destabilizing, and even our own. Right, so people are more getting into Bitcoin. So all these things together, yes, it's gonna be a crazy 2 year, guys. Cryptocurrency, the crypto market in the next 2 years, it's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be insane. Speaking of currency, so this is something that I put out there a while back, and I haven't talked about it much lately. But what I see happening, and I saw this coming a couple of years ago, actually, is that we're going to see, like, the United States is like the hub. And we're going to see a lot of developing nation or countries, we're going to see their currency collapse. And it's going to start from the outside. It's going to work its way in towards the U.S. The U.S. is going to be the last domino to fall. So if you look around the world right now, Beirut, Turkey, their currency absolutely collapsed, right? We're seeing that in so many other countries where the currencies are collapsing, but eventually it's going to come home. So yes, it's going to start an outskirt. So when you're watching the news, you hear all these different countries that's going, falling into decay because their economy is collapsing. Iran is another one that come to mind. Their currency is collapsing because it's what people have to realize is that the fiat currency that we have in place right now is not going to work much longer. And that's the reason why the United States government is trying to come up with this Fed coin, this new digital coin that they're trying to come up with, right? Because the currency as it is right now is not working any longer. And so, yes, the U.S. is going to be the last one to fall, but in my belief, it's not going to be too much longer until we see a lot of problems with the United States dollar. And also on top of that, a lot of countries are also getting away from using the US dollar. Right now, Russia and China are two, Russia, like China's our biggest import-exporter partner, but they're also now making tremendous moves to get away from the US dollar. So eventually it's going to come home. My point is this. If you haven't done so already, what are you waiting on? You have to see what's happening around you, and you have to start taking measures to escape from this currency that we have in place, the US dollar. That currency is absolutely dying, and if you allow yourself to get trapped in that, then it's on you. So as I said before, when you see these corporations that's getting out of the dollar and going towards like Bitcoin, and some of them is going into gold, there's a reason why they're doing that, because they see the writing on the wall that it's just a matter of time until the U.S. currency take a hit like the rest of the currencies around the world.
All
right. So a time for the video, right? Another video coming up. And this was a very long podcast I was listening to. It was like an hour and a half long, but there were some superstars on there. And we have about 5 to 6 minutes that we're going to listen to. And what they're talking about, like we talked about earlier, is the fact that right now there are a lot of boardrooms, meetings, and what they're discussing is trying to figure out a way how they can get into Bitcoin in a way where it's safe. One of the things that Bitcoin have had for a while is that many of these corporations were reluctant to get involved in Bitcoin because they just wasn't sure if it was safe enough. But I think right now with these other companies making these moves, a lot of these corporations are feeling like, okay, maybe it's safe enough for us to get involved with it, right? So there've been a lot of discussions in boardrooms as to how they can get involved with Bitcoin, and that's happening, by the way. It's going to happen even more. But I thought that this little clip we will listen to was a very interesting part of the podcast, kind of give us an insight as to what's taking place, some of the discussions that's taking place behind closed doors in this boardroom. So, James, if you're ready, sir, go ahead.
Phase approach. And that go back on Jeff's point, the power of Bitcoin essentially is that there was a news item just recently where a Chinese woman was, stopped in an airport trying to bring gold into the US, I think it was. And it wasn't even that much. It was like she had, a few dozen gold coins. And it's easy to stop that now. Whereas Bitcoin, you can literally you can memorize 12 words and just go across the border with nothing. And so that's a really powerful technology that does circumvent a lot of the issues that makes it hard for policymakers to deal with.
Preston, for you, I think you were ahead of this in a long way in putting your reserves in your company into Bitcoin and talking about the reasons you did. And this might be interesting since the MicroStrategy thing. I'm chairman of numerous boards, and also chairman of 2 different audit committee boards. And in both of those boards, both of the audit committee boards, this is a very real conversation right now.
Really? Wow. So there's a lot of people on Twitter asking me that, and I don't have access like you do, Jeff. So let's first explain what's going on. So you're talking about MicroStrategy. The ticker is MSTR. Michael Saylor, an MIT grad. This company has a market cap of $1.3 billion, has $500 million in equity. and Michael had a huge amount of voting rights for this company and went out and took $250 million and denominated all of it into Bitcoin and just slapped it right on the balance sheet of the company. So literally half of the equity for the entire company is Bitcoin. And so you're saying that in boardrooms of major multi-billion dollar companies, this is becoming a talking point.
This is a talking point. It's more than just a talking point. So, and I think this plays into your thesis and a whole bunch of it. So if you just go with what we all know, with what everybody knows and can feel, governments are forced to stay here, right, and forced to devalue currencies, and it's going to continue on. Then people sitting on those currencies are looking for hedges against that. And that's why gold's moving. That's why Bitcoin's moving. But it is a very real conversation in boardrooms. In the last week, I've had 2 audit committee meetings about it.
That CEO, if you look at the press release, he specifically cited all these macro factors as part of his reason to want to move into Bitcoin. He cited the massive fiscal stimulus, the debt monetization, the QE that was happening with the currency, and cited that as his specific reason for wanting to shift into, first they described it as alternative assets, and then they revealed that the alternative asset he was really pursuing is Bitcoin. And so, it wasn't just like he had no reason for it. It was specifically because he was worried about having so much cash. Because as you pointed out, I think it's up to 1.4 billion now market cap. They
I liked how you said now.
Oh yeah. Because I was looking at it the other day. They're up to like 500 and some million dollars in cash, like not even just equity, like actual cash. They had no debt, tons of cash. This company, they've been having some growth issues lately, but their biggest asset is they have a huge amount of cash relative to their market capitalization and just all this. So the last thing they want is for that to be devalued. And so he just took half of it and put it into something that he viewed as kind of hedging against that.
And I think what's crazy for people that maybe don't play around with really big numbers like the ones we're talking about. So you're talking about a company that took $250 million and bought Bitcoin with it. But when you look at a company like Apple and you look at their balance sheet and their last year closeout was around $100 billion in cash and cash equivalents, $250 million is a total pittance when you compare it to the ability to drop any amount percentage-wise of $100 billion and what that's going to do. And I mean, that's just one of many, many companies that have big positions on their balance sheet with marketable securities that they could just change 1%, 5%, whatever it might be. I think the biggest thing that surprised me about this MicroStrategy thing was my expectation for companies to start putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet as a marketable security was that it was going to be a 1 or 5% allocation, 10% at most, not literally the entire cash equivalents were turned into Bitcoin. Like, it was just crazy that was the first thing that we've seen. So Jeff, you're thinking that when we start seeing the third quarter reports coming out, that this is going to be more of a maybe common thing than what we're seeing today.
I think it's just on the continuum. I would have bet against what MicroStrategy did. It's big a piece on an audit committee meeting. I wouldn't say, okay, go do it all, right? So I would be, but as that happens, it forces other things. It's just a knock-on effect. It drives the network effect of Bitcoin, and it also drives more instability into the other system.
You got all these investing podcasts. Everyone there is pretty much saying a lot of the same stuff. And it's stuff that comes out of the finance industry where you have a bunch of people that are managing other people's money. And so when you're managing other people's money, the name of the game is you don't want to have too much volatility in your portfolio at the expense of upside. You just want to have just enough upside that maybe you're outperforming the index. But if you start going above that, you have too much volatility and you potentially lose clients, right? That's the name of the game for finance. That's what all these investing podcasts and people that are doing this, they manage other people's money. But what if you're already have a net worth of $100 million, or you have a net worth of $500 million or $1 billion like Michael Saylor? Volatility does not scare him at all. At all. If he thinks he's right and he wants to, because guess what? He has another company that's worth $3 billion. So if he makes a mistake on this one, so what? I can handle the volatility, right? Like, I'm not managing somebody else's money. So how many other private companies are out there that a person owns and they have the ability to put a lot of marketable securities on it, and they can handle the volatility because they have free cash flows, and they're not going to blow up and lose all their index of clients because they're managing other people's money.
Well, think about it too. If you're a billionaire, there's only two ways you lose in this life. You can't spend $1 billion. There's two ways you lose. You lose war/revolution, and you lose hyperinflation, rapid hyperinflation. That's it. Those are the only way you ain't ever going to eat again, or you ain't ever going to eat good again for every meal. And so what you're describing checks those boxes. You don't have to have a lot into a Bitcoin or a gold, but a Bitcoin in practical terms of what we're talking about here, where you take that risk off the table. You have hedged that out now. And you're starting to see that. And to your point, when you don't have the career.
All right. I wanted to, that was a long podcast, like I said, but hour and a half. Really good information. If you guys want, I could drop the link in the Telegram group later. Super intense podcast. These are high-level people that's involved with, analyzing and running billions of dollars. And so if you think about it, like one of the points that they made is this. So a company like Apple that have over $100 billion on the sideline that they could spend, do whatever. So if Microstrategy took half of their cash that they have on a balance sheet and put it in Bitcoin, what if a company like Apple would put just 1% of their $100 billion? And there's so many other companies out there that have billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars on their balance sheet sitting in cash, and they're looking for a place to put it. So what if those companies also start to follow MicroStrategy's lead and start to put some of their money that they have on the sideline into Bitcoin? What I'm trying to say to you guys is this: it is coming. The floodgates are coming. So be prepared for it, because it's going to happen. And all it takes is just for one company to do it, and then the rest will follow. So once this happens by MicroStrategies, I'm telling you, you're going to see so many more corporations doing the same thing. And a lot of corporations have a lot more money than MicroStrategies.
And that's why a lot of these analysts are predicting these numbers that I cannot even right? There are analysts saying that Bitcoin will be $1 million in the next 10 years. I can't even imagine. Right now at $12,000, well, almost $12,000, and to become $1 million even in 10 years. I can't imagine. But with all these things that's happening with the world, and with all these companies coming in with these multi-billion-dollar or even trillion-dollar companies that are coming in and buying up Bitcoin, I don't know. It's just my.
The sky's the limit. Yeah. The sky is really the limit.
I just don't know.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mr. Wong?
Hey, I want people to kind of think of the flip side, right? If Bitcoin does go up to 250,000, 500,000, 750,000, $1 million per Bitcoin, what is that doing to the fiat currency valuations, right? Really, I mean, at that time, if you want to go out and you want to have a nice omakase, it might cost you $10,000.
Right? A couple of Satoshis.
So, we know, and you talk about this many times during our podcast, is that, all of the fiat currency eventually goes to zero in values, right? And we already see U.S. dollars going from, in early 1900 to right now, we have about 95% drop in valuation. So where do you think this direction is going for the last 5%? I mean, I don't think it's going to reverse its trend and go back up, right? I think it's going to continue its, downward trend, and it's going to, drive it down even more, especially with the fact that all of the Federal Reserve around the world and federal banks are printing out money like no tomorrow. So all signs are pointing towards, Bitcoin's going up, in my personal opinion. Do your own research. And that's the reason why I am prepared, right, in getting into Bitcoin mining, because I believe that is the best way to accumulate Bitcoins over the long run, and so that you can de-risk, guys. It's all about balancing that. So
yeah,
that's my
I agree
point.
to Mr. Wong, absolutely. But you're right. One of the things I've been thinking about, I'm glad you brought it up, because I've been trying to process this, and I haven't really come up with any kind of conclusion in my mind how it's going to play out. But I like the idea that Bitcoin could go to 100,000, even $1 million. At the same time, I've thought about the fact that to see Bitcoin $1 billion, then what kind of world do we be living in with $1 million Bitcoin? Right? Because I think it's slightly naive to think that we can see Bitcoin $1 billion and not realizing that that's going to be driven by the collapse of the dollar, right? And so the dollar collapse, what does the average person's lives look like? And so I've been thinking about that for quite a while now, what our world will look like with $1 million Bitcoin. So we know that the dollar is being devalued, and we know that it's just a matter of time until it's completely go to zero, like all fiat currency. But we also know that we have this thing called Bitcoin that we can use to hedge against that. So if you know the dollar is collapsing and you have an opportunity to get above a Bitcoin, why aren't you? And I'm seeing the average person out there who have not taken the opportunity to get involved with Bitcoin. Well, yes, I think we have the best way as a Bitcoin miner. Either way, it doesn't matter. But if you understand history and what's happened throughout history with fiat currency, and you see what's going on right now with the US dollar, and you're not thinking about hedging yourself again, like, I don't understand. I honestly don't understand that.
Right. And actually, which another thing I don't understand is what brings us to the next topic, right? About how Goldman Sachs predicts a 20% surge.
Yes.
In the stock market. And right now, yes, the stock market, Nasdaq is at all-time high. Tesla's going crazy, and all these, it's just crazy. The stock market has been going crazy. It's very much like a bizarre world. Mm-hmm. You guys watch Superman, a bizarre world. Everything is upside down, right? Everything looks peachy. Everything, financially, the market is good. Everybody is spending money. Everybody right now have money, right? It's because the Fed is putting all his money, and the reason why the stock market is going so high is because where else can you put your money, right? You can't. People don't want to hold on to it.
Yes.
Like we were saying, they know the dollar is devaluing and it's depreciating. Where else is there to go? Real estate and stock market. And actually, I thought the real estate market would start to calm down, but it actually hasn't. Maybe the commercial market.
Yeah.
Commercial market.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But the residential market is still going up like crazy. Okay, and the foreclosure, and that's another time effect that's going to happen soon. The delinquency rates, the mortgage delinquency rate actually has it's 8 to 9%. Where it used to be on average maybe about 4% or so, 3-4%.
So it has doubled.
Yes. And the reason why it has doubled to about 8%. Right, and the delinquency rate. But the problem is these houses cannot be foreclosed because they put a
moratorium.
Yeah. They put a top on there, so you can't really foreclose anybody right now. What's going to happen when they lift that?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and also more people that's not able to pay their mortgage. All these domino effects going on.
And the eviction.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the stock market is definitely not mirroring what the economy is. And so it's scary to predict to think about what's going to happen after this when we start having that recovery.
Yeah.
Right now, we're all having fun. Right now, we're all drinking. All right, here's to you.
Yes, cheers to you guys. One of the things
until the music has stopped.
Right.
Listen, one of the things I've been saying, and it's funny because I see it playing out right in front of my eyes. I've been saying this for a very long time, is that we are going to see the stock market hitting all new highs after all new highs after all new highs, and unemployment in all new highs at all at the same time. So we're going to see record stock market and record unemployment at the same time. And we're seeing that right now in front of our eyes, right? Because we don't know the economy is not the stock market. But that shows you what kind of economy we're having right now, where everything, because the cheap money, is flowing into the equity market, is driving equity price up. At the same time, people can't find work or is out of work because of the pandemic and other reasons. But if you think about the fact that we have a society where the stock market is at an all-time high, at the same time, the unemployment rate is an all-time high.
Right.
And we're going to see that, by the way. What's your take, Mr. Wong?
Everything is inverted right now. And
the world is upside down.
Yeah, exactly. So totally doesn't reflect what the realities are. So that's another reason why we really have to be prepared and take actions to protect ourselves, right? And I can tell you, I mean, I start, holding more in the cash positions, right? Even, and just wait for the maybe to have better stuff to buy. If you have not gotten into Bitcoins, do your research, do your due diligence, get into the Bitcoins and de-risk yourself, right, with your portfolio. So rebalance it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So the question is with this market surge, what will happen to Bitcoin?
So lately, we have realized that Bitcoin is somewhat correlated with the market to a certain extent. So if the market were to surge 20% by the end of the year, then we can safely say that we'll see Bitcoin do the same, if not better. That's my take on it. I don't see the market surging 20% and Bitcoin going in the opposite direction. I think at the very least, we'll see the same thing for Bitcoin, if not a better increase value-wise by the end of the year. What do you think?
I think, well, first, with the stock market, I do I agree with Goldman Sachs saying is going to surge 20% by the end of the year. I think so. I think it might be. But I also think the party is going to be over probably next year or soon.
But that I agree with also, yes.
Yeah, I just don't know when that party is going to be over.
Yeah.
When that party is going to be over, after that surge, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a pretty huge correction. Right? And with Bitcoin, Bitcoin is very much correlated with the stock market right now. So if it goes up 20%, the Bitcoin will go up. I believe it'll go up higher.
At least 20%, if not more. Yeah, absolutely.
It'll go higher than that. And then doing the correction, actually, I see Bitcoin it won't go down as much as the stock market. Right? And I think Bitcoin also will become, and if everything collapses, I believe the Bitcoin will also have a steep correction.
Well, yeah, you can expect that.
Right, but I do believe that Bitcoin will recover quicker than the stock market, right? And also won't come down as hard as the stock market. Right. So that's what I think.
Listen, I believe you. But we'll see what happens. Again, we're not financial advisors. We're not giving financial advice, but we also just want to share information with you. And hopefully the information that we're sharing with you, you find some nugget to where you can use it to make your situation, whatever your situation is, make it better. It doesn't matter what your situation is. You can always make it better, right? Mr. Wong, we're going to wrap things up, my friend. It's always great to have you on the podcast, to get your big brain and the way you think about things. And the last word for the people, sir.
Hey, guys, when the music stops, a lot of people are going to have some bad hangovers. So be prepared for that.
And, the crazy thing is, that think about it, we all know it's happening. It's happening right before our eyes. And so if you're not taking measures to prepare yourself for what's coming, then, there's not much we can say about that, right? But things will not be the same. I believe that we are in the process of some kind of reset in the economy. And I believe that the dollar is going to take a big hit during that reset. And I do believe that Bitcoin is going to benefit from that reset. That's my personal belief. We'll see what happens. But, I truly believe that, Bitcoin is going to shine when this is all said and done. And I think that the way the dollar is right now is not going to be the same going forward.
Yeah. My final thought is that, yes, I think Bitcoin and stock market will continue to go up for this year for some time. And then, yes, I do believe there will be a correction coming. So just hold on to it with Bitcoin. Just make sure you guys have enough cash on the side. All right. Just hold on to it. Don't worry about that correction. And I do believe it will come back up. It's all going to happen, I would say, by the end of 2021.
Absolutely.
That growth and then that correction and that growth again.
Yes.
Yep.
But I don't have the magic ball, okay?
This is what we're thinking.
It's your best guesstimate. Yep.
Yeah, we're just sharing our ideas and our thoughts and what we're thinking with you guys. So, take it for what it's worth. All right, that being said, we're going to wrap things up. As always good to have you guys here. Our viewers, we love you guys. You guys are the ones or why we do this, what we do. Hopefully the information we're bringing to you, you find some value in it, right? So we're going to wrap things up. So, guys,
we have one
go ahead.
Question
yes.
From Mercy, when do you guys think the halving will be over?
The halving?
Yes.
The halving is a one-time event.
Yeah, so the halving is a one-time event, but it happens almost every 4 years. Estimate should be about every 4 years the halving will happen. So the halving will continue to happen until 2140, and until the last Bitcoin is mined, then the halving will be over. And there's more Bitcoin to be mined, but what the network and the Bitcoin miners going to get is obviously from those transaction fees. And it's 2140. If everyone is using Bitcoin, there will be so much transaction fees that it doesn't matter any new Bitcoin is coming out or not.
Yes.
That is the basis for Bitcoin. That's why this happened. It's happening.
Very good point. All right. That's it. No more questions?
That's it.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And for most of you, I will see you guys tonight on the compensation webinar at 9 p.m. Don't forget to join me on that. And then we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7:30 for a regular weekly training and presentation for guests as well. Guys, have a wonderful evening. You guys take care, and see you guys tonight on the webinar. Take care. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Have a good one.
See you, Mr. Wong.